I usually get like labeled as a good girl and then I'm like, excuse me, I was expelled from high school. Hey guys, welcome back to my channel. So today I'm going to be doing a video that's really different for my channel. I'm jumping on the bandwagon of these story time type videos. I've had a couple friends here on YouTube do them and I think that they are so funny and so entertaining, so I decided that I was going to try to do one and see how you guys like it. So if you guys want to hear my story of how I got expelled from high school, then it's your lucky day because I'm about to tell you. So first of all, before you judge me, please watch the whole video. I feel like you might get to the end and be like, oh, it's not as bad as I thought it was going to be. Or you might be like, wow, Danny, I thought you were a good girl and you apparently are not. Either way, I'm just being real with you guys. This is a true story that really happened in my life. And I actually think it's a really funny story. Kind of. I know that's like bad to say, but I actually think it's really funny. So gotta, like, you know, give you guys some backstory so you understand the whole situation. I went to a private Christian high school. It wasn't like a really small school though. It was like really well known in my area. We had a really good sports program, a really like well-known football team at the time, and we had a really good performing arts department. I was really into musical theater, which is why I really wanted to go to that high school, and that's what I did there. Because we did have like a really good theater department, we got the honor, I guess, to perform at the Fringe Festival in Edinburgh, Scotland. So it was like a traveling show that was going to be performing at the Fringe Festival. So we auditioned for the show at the end of my freshman year, but we didn't actually go to Scotland until the next summer after that, so the summer in between my sophomore and junior year. But anyone who went to the school at the time was able to audition for the show, so people who were seniors, graduating seniors at the time, were allowed to audition for it and then come back and be a part of it. So when we actually went to Scotland, there was people who were in the show that had already been in college for a year, and then there was people that had just graduated from high school, and then there was like, you know, us who were still in high school, like in between a year. So Austin, my husband, we went to high school together. We're high school sweethearts, if you guys didn't know. He wasn't originally a part of the group who was gonna go, but then at the last minute someone dropped out, and me and Austin's sister were in the show, and we were like, oh my gosh, we should see if Austin can be in it. A last minute add-on into the show, so Austin was there. Here's a picture of us in Scotland. I was so excited that my boyfriend got to come to Scotland with me. We had a really great time. Yeah, my hoop earrings are pretty awesome, and my Juicy Couture velour jacket, pretty awesome. I was really hip, and Austin's faux hawk. I was definitely the one who made him rock that haircut, and he looked awesome. Because we went to a Christian school, we had a zero tolerance policy. I heard that phrase all the time going to this school, like, we have a zero tolerance policy, and I was like, okay, whatever. And I was actually a really good kid. Like, I didn't get into trouble at all. Like, in high school, I was like the kind of kid who, like, I was so scared to get in trouble because then I wouldn't be allowed to do things that I like to do, that I just literally played by the rules all the time. But then we get to Scotland, and we were there for I think 2 or 3 weeks. The people who had been in college already, like several of them, were drinking the whole trip in front of us. Like, we saw them drinking. We weren't really supervised while we were there. Like, we were kind of like allowed to do whatever we wanted the whole time, just as long as we were like in a group of 3 or 4, I think. I was like kind of getting used to like seeing people being drunk. I had never tried alcohol at that point. Like, I was like such a goody two-shoes. Like, I never was invited to parties. Like, I never like was offered alcohol. Now that I talk to my friends who I'm still friends with, they were like, oh yeah, we went to parties and drank all the time, Danny. We just didn't invite you because we thought you would tattle on us. I don't know how I got that reputation, but apparently that's what people thought of me in high school. So while I was there, like, you know, I started getting used to those people drinking, and they weren't getting in trouble. And then I was at dinner one time with just me and Austin and then this other couple, and they were like, oh, like, do you guys want to drink? And I was like, what? Like, we're not supposed to. Like, I'm only 16, and like, these are the thoughts going through my head. And then I looked at the other girl who we were having dinner with, and she's like, I'm getting one. And I was like, well, she's getting one, like, I can get one. The other guy who was our friend, he ordered us vodka Sprite, so I'm so classy. My first drink was a vodka Sprite, and I thought I was so cool, and I was like, oh my gosh, like, I don't even feel drunk, like, I'm such a good drinker. And then like the next night we had dinner with like a bigger group, and we ordered wine, and I was like, oh my gosh, I'm so classy and so mature, I'm drinking wine, and I'm not even getting drunk, like, I'm so cool. And then it was our last night in Scotland. All of the older kids, they were kind of the ones who were like, let's all go out to a bar and stuff like that. And like, at this point I had drank twice and I like got away with it and it was like fine. So I was like, YOLO, like let's do it. I'm taking this opportunity to like be the bad girl I always wanted to be. At the time, I didn't think we were that bad. I didn't have anything to compare us to because I'd never drank before, but now looking back at this, I'm like, wow, we were a complete shit show. Like, no joke. Like, there was one kid, like, who was laying on the ground outside the bar throwing up, and I remember looking at him and just being like, ha! Classic. And then there was this other girl who we literally had to carry back to the room, and she kept falling, and we were just like, ah, so funny. Like, that's not funny. Like, that doesn't happen when I go out drinking with my friends now. And I didn't think I was drunk, but now looking at it, I'm like, oh yeah, that was definitely drunk Dani. And I was like, I just want to be with Austin! So if you've ever been drinking with me now, you know nothing's changed. It was pretty obvious that we were all drunk. I guess because, like, you know, that girl was falling, the other kid was throwing up, I was crying, the teachers all heard and like knew that we were drinking, and then the next morning on the way to the airport in the bus, I threw up on the bus. In my defense, I threw up on the plane on the way there in Austin's lap. He's so lucky to have me. Every one of the parents and the teachers thought I was like super hungover and just a shit show. So we knew that the teachers knew, but like no one was really saying anything to us. Then we had a layover between London and New York. The director of the show brought us all together and said like she was really disappointed in us and blah 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 blah, gave us that whole speech and said we all had to call our parents and tell them what happened. And I was just like, oh my god, my parents are going to kill me. So I get ready, I go in a corner, I call my parents, and I'm literally hysterically crying. They're like, ah, ah, ah. And they're like, oh my god. Apparently it was in the middle of the night for them. My 16-year-old daughter, who is in Scotland, is hysterically crying. Like, they couldn't understand anything I was saying. They like said the worst things were going through their mind. And I was like, I'm really sorry, I messed up. And they're like, Dani, what did you do? And I was like, I drank alcohol. I literally remember this like coming out of my mom's mouth. She was like, oh, Dani, it's okay. I drank when I was your age. And I was like, what? So I really thought I dodged a bullet. I was like, oh my god, I'm gonna get away with this. Like, my parents aren't even that mad at me. Like, this is great. And then when we get home, the principal meets us there and he says, gets on the bus and says that we all have to write a letter apologizing and tell them everything that we did that night. Me and Austin, like, we were sitting next to each other and we were just like completely honest. Like, I've always been like an honest person. I was honest with my parents and it like didn't end up backfiring, so I was like, okay, like I'm just gonna be honest. And I was just thinking like, wow, they're just gonna really admire me for being so honest, and it completely backfired. So I just joined the song team, which is like cheerleading but like dance. So I had practiced all summer for the song team, like went to competition with them and stuff like that. And then so the next day I get a call from the song coach and she's like, hey Dani, I heard about what happened in Scotland and I'm really sorry, but you're kicked off the team. So of course, you know, that was like super hysterical for me. I was like, oh my gosh, like I'm such a failure. I'm not gonna be on this song team. I was also on this like Ignite mentorship program team. That's what it was called. And I was a group leader. I get a call from the teacher who was in charge of that and it's like, hey Dani, sorry, but you're kicked off Ignite. You're not allowed to be a group leader anymore. You can't even be on the team anymore. And I'm like, oh my gosh, again, I'm such a failure. This is so embarrassing. Then our parents get a phone call from the principal and he tells us that because we signed a zero tolerance policy, we're expelled from the school because we broke the contract. When you're 16 years old and you're like as involved in school as I am, like I was a social butterfly, and you get a call saying that you're expelled from school, like literally, I felt like my life was over. Like at that time, like everything that I'd ever done like flashed before my eyes. Everything I ever thought my life was is completely over. Worst day of my life, like up to that point. It was so crazy, like scary to me. So it was like me and Austin and like I think 4 or 5 other kids who had gotten in trouble. There was a lot more other kids who were at the bar that night, but I guess not everyone was as honest in their apology letter as I was. Our parents like got together, they somehow like talked to the principal and the board and like convinced them to let like our parents like appeal our admission. So this was the first day of school had already happened and I was not allowed to go to the first day of school, which is just like so weird. Like I missed the first day of school because I was expelled. My dad says like he went in there and like literally like was like, my daughter is such a good girl, like she didn't mean to do anything wrong, like she's just being a dumb kid, like you're literally gonna ruin her life for like one dumb decision she made. And like Austin's dad went in there and started crying and it was just like such this huge fiasco. And so we didn't know what was gonna happen. Then we get a call later that night that says that they were gonna like readmit us into school, but we weren't allowed to be in any activities. So we weren't allowed to do any of those things for the first semester. Second semester we were allowed to do everything. I wasn't allowed to be part of the dance team. I wasn't allowed to be part of the night mentor team. I was also president of the recycling club. Wasn't allowed to do that. I wasn't allowed to do any of the choir performances. I wasn't allowed to go to any of the dances like homecoming or anything like that, and I wasn't allowed to try out for any of the plays. It was better than nothing, but still to me that completely sucked. It sucked even more for Austin because it was his senior year and he didn't get to play basketball. And if you guys know, basketball is like pretty much the whole first semester. I mean, he literally like dedicated his high school career to basketball, and then it's his senior year. He's supposed to be like the basketball star and he wasn't allowed to play basketball the whole season. He got to play like 2 playoff games. So that really sucked. Now looking back, I mean, I was scared out of my mind to ever do anything bad ever again. Like I straight up never drank the rest of the time I was in high school. So I mean, it taught me a really big lesson. I mean, I still kind of look back and I'm like, geez, they kind of taught us that we should probably lie in situations like that. I mean, I'm glad I told the truth because I'd probably have like a guilty conscience till this day if I didn't. It's a good story now. I usually get like labeled as a good girl and then I'm like, excuse me, I was expelled from high school. I hope this doesn't like alter your guys' opinion of me, but I just wanted to like tell you guys a funny, kind of funny, true story. So I hope you guys enjoyed this video and getting to know how I got expelled from high school. If you guys like this type of video and want me to do more story time videos, make sure you give this video a thumbs up and let me know in the comments down below like what kind of videos and what kind of stories you'd like me to tell. Thank you guys for watching this video. I hope you guys liked it and I will see you in my next one. Love you guys. Bye.